Lombardi Sweep. Just me today. I wanted to see what a show would be like solo and during the day, see how it operates, see how you guys take it. And if it does well, if you guys like a solo show, if you like it going live during the day, then I think we can do this a little bit more. So we're talking about the Green Bay Packers today. We've been doing every other week, so that's why we're doing a show today. Next week, we'll do another one with Luke and Trevor. So we'll go back to back weeks. It'll be right after NFL free agency opens. So that means one thing: there will be people signed, and the Packers probably will not be one of those teams. That's two things. So that's what's probably going to be happening next week. But today, let's do a full free agency deep dive. Let's go into the Packers salary cap, what needs to happen, who could possibly be moved before the new league year next week. Since the Packers have to get under the cap still, they are one of the teams that need to get under the cap. Who could be casualties? Who could be on the move? And what positions do the Packers need to target this offseason? If they don't do it in free agency, they're going to have to do it in the draft. If they don't do it in either, then it will be another year of, hey, that's crazy that cornerback is not a good position for us. That's crazy that we don't really have any good offensive tackles, and the tackles that we have, for the most part, are playing guard or should play guard. I'm looking at you, Zach Tom. So we will go into all of that, the positions of need, but let's jump into the salary cap. And if you guys have any questions, any comments, anything whatsoever, if you're watching live, obviously jump in the chat. If you're watching after the fact, I mean, come on, leave a comment, like, subscribe, please. And if you just like an audio only version too, by the way, Lombardi Sweep is on every podcast platform that you are going to be using. So as of right now, assuming a $301 million salary cap, which I do believe is what they officially set. So this is correct here. Actually, I think it might be a little bit higher. Regardless, it's about right. We're using SpoTrack here. So this is where everyone sits. You can see the Chargers have $94 million of cap space. Wouldn't that be nice? The Packers, we got to scroll a little bit. The Packers are 25th in terms of cap space, the space they have. They are $6.4 million over the cap, according to SpoTrack, according to Over the Cap, another site. Again, both these websites, they have some good information. Some of their information is estimated. So they have the Packers at $5 million over the cap. So we can assume $5 to $6 million over the cap. That needs to get figured out before next week. You have to be under the cap by the new league year starting. So how do the Packers do that? And looking at the rest of the division, by the way, the Vikings, they are making some big moves already to get under. They're in the worst situation in terms of being over the cap. They are $44 million over. I would say the Saints at 43.9 are in a worse situation just because the Saints do this every single year, and there's only so often or so far you can kick the can, right? But the Vikings, they are releasing Aaron Jones. They're releasing Hargrave. They're trying to trade Jonathan Grenard. So Vikings are going to be a very different looking team, especially since they want to bring in a quarterback to compete with McCarthy as well. Quarterbacks cost money. So tough spot for the Vikings. Lions, they just made a trade for trading away David Montgomery. They are slightly over, but that's much like the Packers. You can fix that pretty quickly. Packers being $6 million over the cap, panic button does not need to be pressed quite yet. And then the Bears are 1.4 mil over. I don't believe this is including the new retirement of Dahlman, who's a very good player. Bears just lost their center, for anyone who did not know. Really quick, just looking. I mean, let's go into the future and use a finder here. Okay, yeah, I mean, it includes that he's a $14 million cap hit despite being retired. We love that. We love that for the Bears. So good to go there. So let's dive into the Packers salary cap. What can we do? How can we help as the Lombardi Sweep podcast here, get the Packers under. So, looking at this, biggest cap hits on the team, we got Jordan Love, Rashawn Gary, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Micah Parsons, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Wyatt. Um, Unfortunately, some of these players are untouchable. There's only so much the Packers can do. They can move some salary around, but they're not going to be cut. Those players include Jordan Love. He's not going to be cut. They could move some of his money around a little bit, though, and make this work. Aaron Banks, can't cut him, unfortunately. I would argue you could sign somebody better than him for $4.7 million, which would be a wash, right? We'll get into all this stuff, but he has a $20 million dead cap, a $24.7 million cap hit. This means with him on the team playing as of right now, he cost the Packers against the cap $24.7 million. If we straight up cut him, he will incur $20.2 million against the cap. So Packers would free up $4.7 million. And is that enough to move on from a player you just signed to a big contract? Probably not, but I would still do that. But regardless, people who are cap casualty possibilities for sure include Rashawn Gary. He is $28 million against the cap. He only would incur a $17 million cap hit. Elton Jenkins, 24 against the cap, less than a $5 million cap hit if we cut him. So that's why Rashawn Gary or Elton Jenkins, I think the writing is on the wall. He is either going to have to restructure his contract, which would be an extension of some sort, or he's going to be traded, or he's going to be cut. And it just is what it is. I want Elton Jenkins on our team next year. So hopefully we can make that work. Josh Jacobs could be a cut. I would imagine Josh Jacobs is a restructure and slight extension, probably with void years, because Josh Jacobs has a $14.5 million cap hit and a $6.2 million dead cap. He has been the Packers' best player on offense. So it would be foolish to fully cut bait with him and give him the ability to go sign somewhere else. But Packers do need to do something because, again, Packers are $6 million over the cap. And before we can even think about free agency, we have to get under the cap. So how do we do this? And we will look at that, and then we will get into free agency needs and players we could potentially sign. And we'll talk about players who are upcoming free agents. You can see them here. We'll talk about them. But these are players not on the Packers roster, players the Packers are expected to lose. And if we lose some of these players, Packers will be getting some nice compensatory picks. Malik Willis will be one of them. He is expected to sign for big quarterback money because he is and was the best Packers quarterback last year on the roster. He's the most talented Packers quarterback. And now other teams are going to get the chance to sign him, and the Packers will get a nice compensatory pick back. So, great trade for the Packers. If only we could sign Malik Willis and trade Jordan Love. But I digress. Let's look at Rashawn Gary here. If we straight up cut Rashawn Gary before June 1st, which is what would have to happen, you can do a little bit of cap magic and designate him as a post June 1st cut. You can do that with, I believe, 2 players per year. That means you can cut them whenever and just say, hey, we're designating this as a release from our roster after June 1st, and it changes the value. However, for the Packers, right now, that doesn't necessarily matter. The Packers still have to get under the cap on paper before the new league year next week. So doing that for Rashawn Gary, cut a post June 1st cut would save the Packers actually $19.5 million instead of $11 million. But you can't do that to solve all your problems. Packers would have to be under the cap before that move takes place regardless. So not going to happen most likely. We shall see. But Rashawn Gary, again, straight up cut. Packers would save $11 million. Can you sign somebody or a group of players for $11 million that gives you more value than Rashawn Gary? That would be the question asked, right? That's the question. And that's what every general manager is doing with the roster right now. With that money that we save, Can we actually improve or stay the same? And with Rashawn Gary, I think probably the answer is yes. Now, what they could do, though, there's a lot of edge rushers in free agency, which diminishes the value of Rashawn Gary a little bit since he's not a very good player anyway. But let's just say we trade him. That cap hit would still be the same. So if we trade Rashawn Gary, we would save $11 million and we would get whatever back in the trade, right? So for somebody like Rashawn Gary, I would imagine it would be maybe a fifth round draft pick, maybe a fourth round draft pick. It would be something like that because a team taking him on gets a player who's not great and they incur a very big cap hit, right? They're paying him a lot of money. So his value is pretty low, to be completely honest. So, but can the Packers get more value out of $11 million in a fourth round draft pick than Rashawn Gary? I would scream to the heavens, yes. And if that's the case, Packers need to be looking for a Rashawn Gary trade right now, which I imagine they are. Will it happen? I do not know. Okay, Elton Jenkins. Again, Bears just had their center retire. There's a lot of teams desperately in need of interior offensive line talent. Take a look at the Detroit Lions, who, for my money, had the worst interior offensive line in football last year, which was probably the biggest reason for their lack of success. So, and the Vikings still have issues on the interior offensive line. For that reason, for those reasons, if I'm the Packers, I'm not letting arguably our best offensive lineman hit free agency when everybody else in the division desperately want him. Don't do it. So, even though the Packers could cut Elton Jenkins, I keep saying Rashawn Gary because I want him gone. Even though we could cut Elton Jenkins and save $19.5 million, and look at this. Again, Packers are $5 million to $6 million over. We cut Elton Jenkins. We're already $15 million under the cap. We have $15 million to spend. That is super enticing. I fully understand that. But we do not want to let our division get better while we get worse. It just does not make sense. That is not the recipe for winning. So, for Rashawn Gary, for Elton Jenkins, we want to extend him. We want to renegotiate. Right now, he has a $24 million cap hit. $24 million. So, how do we make it good for him while also good for us? Let's say we're extending him 2 years. Instead of a 1-year deal in free agency, we're extending him for 2 years. We will then, there's a lot of salary cap rules, but nothing really matters if you have an imagination. So if anyone ever tells you the Packers can't sign somebody, that's wrong. That means they don't have an imagination. So we have 2 real years here on this deal. We're going to have 2 void years. These are years that we can move money into that is fully guaranteed, but he will not be on the team. So a 4-year deal with 2 of them being void years is essentially a 2-year deal, but we made it more cap friendly, and Elton Jenkins agrees to that. That's what this means. Instead of a $24 million cap hit, let's say, hey, we're actually going to give you an $8 million bonus. An $8 million signing bonus, that means you get it all up front. It's fully guaranteed. So instead of a $24 million deal this year, $18 million is going to be guaranteed. Your base salary is going to be $4 million. So it goes from 24 to 15 against the cap. That saves the Packers a ton of money. He gets paid $23 or $22 million right away, which is essentially the same amount. Next year, his salary, let's put it up to $8 million. So he would have a 12.5 cap hit. And then he continues to get paid. So instead of making $24 million this year, risking it all, and then having a big risk, right? If he gets hurt again, he's probably not going to be able to sign a contract. Instead, we're paying him $15 million against the cap this year, $12.5 million against the cap next year, which is about what his value is anyway. And then he gets to go seek another contract while the Packers pay him $9 million more money. That is a good deal for the Packers because his cap hit goes down almost $10 million. That's a good deal for Elton Jenkins because he gets paid more money and he still gets paid a ton of money right away. He still gets paid $22 million right away. Look at that. Packers are about $5 million under the cap. Elton Jenkins is not just on our team this year and gone. He's on our team for 2 more years. Our division doesn't get him. Our division's looking to sign offensive linemen for at least 4+ years. So when Elton Jenkins is up in 2 years, they probably don't have the room to sign him anyway. This is how you win. This is how you win the game. So I love this. Josh Jacobs. Once again, let's renegotiate his contract. He has a $14.5 million cap hit. Let's instead, how old is he? He's 28. Let's say he's on roster until he's 31. We'll give him 2 void years. So instead of having a $14 million cap hit, we give him $6 million up front. We give him base of let's just say $8 million. Why not? So then okay, let's cut it down. Let's give him $7 million. Let's give him $7 million. Let's give him $7 million. He gets a bunch of money up front. Packers move some money around. They save a little bit of money. I would imagine it would be a bigger savings than this, but we're just moving fast now. Packers now $6 million under. Devontae Wyatt's interesting. So Devontae Wyatt's in his contract year. That means if the Packers cut him, they save no money. But he does have a $13 million cap hit this year. He is somebody the Packers would love to extend. And you could extend him and give him a cap hit of less than $13 million for this year. Again, I'm just not going to use real numbers here once this comes up. I'm just going to move quickly. But let's just say Devontae Wyatt, who is a very good player on the interior defensive line, a position for the Packers that does not have much depth or talent. So the Packers definitely want to lock him down. Let's give him a 4-year deal. Again, right now he's $13 million against the cap this year. Let's give him a $10 million bonus. Let's give him a $5 million base salary for this year. That goes up to $8 million next year. That goes up to $10 million the year after that. That goes up to $12 million the year after that. I would imagine all of these numbers are slightly higher than this. Let's do that. Let's just go 7 million, 10 million. Whoops. $10 million. Let's change that to 12 million. Let's change this to 14 million. So he gets paid more money and he gets fair market price. I think he's around a $12 million player, but his cap hit for this year goes down to $9.5 million. Yet he is guaranteed 13. He gets paid a bunch up front, signing bonus of 10 million, a base salary of 7. So he gets 17 million right away. And the Packers save more money. We're up to $10 million, folks. Look at that. So Devontae Wyatt, instead of being on a contract year, we get him for a deal coming off an injury extended for 4 years. The other player we would want to do that with is Tucker Kraft coming off of an injury. If I'm Tucker Kraft, I am not negotiating. I'm not doing this right now. I am not looking to, I know how good of a player I am. You do not want to go into a negotiation coming off an injury because the team will use that against you. And the Packers especially use that against their players. However, in this case, Tucker Kraft's too good of a guy. We're just going to do it anyway. So this isn't a situation where the Packers would save money because, again, he is $4 million against the cap, but this is a player the Packers desperately want to lock down. So let's just say the Packers give him a even a 5-year deal. Let's give him 10 mil up front. Let's give him a base salary starting next year of 10. Like, I think this is legitimate possibilities here. So all of a sudden, Tucker Kraft gets paid a buttload of money, and he gets more money this year. His cap number goes up. Doesn't go up dramatically, but it goes up. That is something the Packers want to do. Obviously, the cap space goes down, but that is something the Packers want to do. So Regardless, a lot of numbers there, moved really quickly there, used somewhat fake numbers in a lot of spots, but I'm just showing you how easy it is the Packers to get under the cap, even though we are around $5 to $6 million over. With players like Rashawn Gary, we didn't even touch him. With Rashawn Gary, Elton Jenkins, Josh Jacobs, those are the three players who are cap casualty possibilities, but um, certainly could be extended in terms of Elton Jenkins and Josh Jacobs. And then Devontae Wyatt has a big cap hit. He could be extended to free up some money for this year. Jordan Love with a $36 million cap hit. Money could be moved around there. Aaron Banks could have his money moved around a little bit. Micah Parsons is a lock to be on the Packers roster, right? So you could move a little bit of his money around. Nate Hobbs could see his money get moved around. Zach Tom could. Packers love to mess with the offensive line contracts. So lots of possibilities for the Packers in terms of freeing up money. Easy friggin' peasy. So now let's go into who the Packers are going to lose, who the upcoming or current free agents are, and then we'll get into what the Packers need, right? So we talked about this a little bit. These are the free agents. We'll go and sort by market value. This is what teams are expected to pay. According to Spotrac, I can see one glaring, obvious mistake. But let's start with Rasheed Walker. He's been locking down the left tackle for the Packers. He's a good, not great player. I'm not terribly upset that the Packers are going to lose him because he's going to go get paid. Again, his market potential value here is estimated to be around $20 million. The league is in desperate need of offensive line talent, and he's going to get paid because of that. The Packers get worse going from him to Jordan Morgan at left tackle. They just do. So that part bothers me. Hopefully the Packers either sign a veteran tackle that's a little bit cheaper, maybe a Cam Robinson or something, or hopefully the Packers draft a tackle, a true tackle, instead of drafting a guard and trying to make them a tackle, right? We've seen it too many times, and both of our tackles right now would be guards playing tackle. If it's Jordan Morgan and Zach Tom, I hate that. Yeah, look what happens when you draft a tackle. You can go back to the week of the draft, and you can see my thoughts on Rasheed Walker, which was, hey, that was actually a good draft pick in the 7th round because we drafted a tackle to play tackle, and he's a good player. Packers need to have more creative or maybe non-creative draft picks like that. But yeah, Rasheed Walker gone. Romeo Doubs is interesting. So by some people are saying he is the top free agent wide receiver. Others are saying he's at least top 5. Market value is projected to be around $12 million. However, Romeo Doubs, to me, he's weird because he's somebody who's loyal. He is somebody who would take a pay cut to stay home. But he's also, even though we all feel bad for him, he's a selfish player. He just is. He's a selfish person. And that is the case for almost every wide receiver I've ever known in my entire life. So that's not necessarily a slam against him, but his people. How about that? I could see him take a big pay cut to stay with Green Bay because he wants to stay in that small town sort of atmosphere because he's that quiet, reserved type of person. I could also see him chasing money, and who could blame him for that? So Romeo Doubs, I think, is 50-50 to come back, to be fully honest. Malik Willis is gone. He's getting paid more than $10.5 million, by the way. This is a stupid value projection there. Quay Walker. I don't know. Packers have invested a lot of time and development in him, and to replace him is not the easiest thing. So I don't think he's the greatest player. I don't necessarily think he's consistently a good player, but he has gotten better, and I could see the Packers potentially throwing a contract his way. We could see him go to Miami and follow the defensive coordinator. We could see him go to a number of spots, and that's why I think the Packers are going to have too much competition to potentially re-sign him, but I think they're going to try. Trayvon Diggs, Packers have a massive need at corner. I think $7.5 million would be too much to sign him, so I think we could lose out on him. Sean Ryan, I thought he played pretty darn good at guard, to be fully honest, and he can play center. He can play center. So, um, I think he's going to be a very cheap free agent, and I think the Packers need to explore bringing him back, in my opinion. Will they? Probably not. But I think he is a good decision to re-sign if he's cheap. Kingsley Enagbare, I think he's a very good player. I think he's better than Rashawn Gary. If the Packers could cut or trade Rashawn Gary and sign Enagbare for a very cheap deal, that's an upgrade while also saving money. I love that. John Fitzpatrick, blocking tight end. Packers need a blocking tight end. It does not need to be John Fitzpatrick. If we can move on, that'd be splendid. And then some of these other players, like Brenton Cox is a decent player. He's restricted, which means the Packers can match any offer. If they are an exclusive rights free agent here, exclusive rights restricted free agent, Packers can offer them the bare minimum deal and they have to accept it. So Bo Melton, Packers are going to offer him $1 million and he has to come back. And that's a good deal because he does a little bit of everything. In terms of other people, Emmanuel Wilson's almost definitely not going to be back. He's a pretty good running back. That sucks, but the Packers can find another one pretty easily. Okay. We've gone through salary cap. We've gone through, I didn't realize this was cut off, by the way. My apologies, folks. Let me resize this. Look how much better that looks. Okay. Now, we went through salary cap. We went through how the Packers get under the salary cap. We went through the Packers departing free agents. Let's talk about what the Packers need now. Okay. Packers have a lot of holes to be filled. Packers aren't necessarily a good football team. Could they become a good football team? I would argue probably not, given the current roster construction, the front office, and the coaching staff. But we're gonna give it a good hard college try here, right? Packers' biggest needs. The biggest need right now continues to be cornerback. It's a desperate need. Keyshawn Nixon's our cornerback one, and whenever tested, he was terrible. He's just not a good player. He's a fine nickel. If we can move him back to the slot, that'd be great. Packers' number one need has to be cornerback. Number two, we really need interior defensive line depth. 3, offensive line. We need help across the board. If we can get a true left tackle, that'd be great. Depending on what happens with Elton Jenkins, we may need a center. I think we have people that could be moved to center. I think Jacob Monk could potentially play center. But we also need help at guard with Sean Ryan not being there, with Aaron Banks being a fucking garbage player, stuff like that. So cornerback, interior defensive line, and offensive line across the board. I think those are the 3 biggest needs. Edge rusher, we could really use another rusher aside from Micah Parsons. Enagbare is obviously a free agent. Rashawn Gary's not good and hopefully is on the move. So we need an edge rusher. We need a backup quarterback. I would argue with just Jordan Love on roster, we need a starting quarterback, but we certainly need a backup. Packers would like to get a veteran backup, which costs money. So we will see what happens there. Running back, we need a running back 2. Assuming Josh Jacobs is brought back, we need a running back 2. We can no longer rely on Marshawn Lloyd. I think Marshawn Lloyd's a very good football player. I hope he can be a contributor to the Packers at some point, but we can no longer trust that he will be. Tight end. We need a tight end. I like Luke Musgrave, but he is currently not performing right. I think he should be given more opportunities than he is, but he is not given those opportunities yet. And Tucker Kraft, while great, is not going to be healthy to start the year. So we need somebody else. We also need a blocking tight end regardless. So tight end, something to look at. Certainly something that could be done with a post free agency or post draft veteran signing, I think, or a late round draft pick. I don't think we need to invest in tight end, but I think we do need tight end. And then wide receiver, if we could get another wide receiver, I think the Packers would really benefit, especially since our best wide receiver last year, Romeo Doubs, he's the most reliable, right? He operated as the number 1 wide receiver, as much as people do not want to give him credit for that. He's a free agent and probably gone. So Packers could use that. And Packers could use a returner. whether that's found in free agency, whether that's found in the draft, whether Keyshawn Nixon pulls his head out of his ass and starts returning kicks again. I don't care and I don't know. But the Packers do need some sort of electricity, some sort of playmaker at the returner position. They just do. They just do. So keep in mind that list: corner, D tackle, offensive line, edge rusher, quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, returner. That's something to keep in mind for free agency, for the draft, for post draft free agency, all of the above. So let's look at cornerback. Let's just see what's out there. Marshawn Lattimore was just released from the Commanders. No, Green Bay, we do not need to go after Marshawn Lattimore unless he's very, very cheap. And I don't expect that to be the case. Looking at some of these guys like Nashawn Wright, he's a good player. Jalen Watson, Jamel Dean, all great players out of the Packers price range. So looking at somebody like Greg Newsome, maybe. I would prefer not to sign him. He's kind of a screw up. But this is the salary that the Packers could swing. Fucking Eric Stokes. No, thank you. Been there, done that. I'm good. Rasul Douglas is back as a free agent. Would love to bring Rasul back as a leader in the locker room, as a good cornerback. He's a veteran. He's not going to cost much. It'll be a short-term deal. I would love to sign Rasul Douglas and draft a cornerback as well for him to mentor. That feels like the best case scenario. Jonathan Jones could be a similar type of person to that. But still, Rasul Douglas can still play, and he would be an incredible signing for the Packers, given the state of their team, given his familiarity, and given the price it costs. I think that's the best bang for our buck. We can still go after like a Avonte Maddox. We could go after a Ben St. Juste. Jack Jones is very hit or miss. That feels like a Packers signing, and then we screw up. Hopefully we don't do that. Tariq Woolen, I mean, great. I'd be cool with Tariq Woolen. That's fine. Cardale Flott, I love as a player. Probably not a great fit for the Packers defense right now, but it would not mind if we chased after him either. But let's look at defensive tackle. And this is where, I mean, you can get some good veteran interior defenders, but it's not the greatest usually. Again, sorting by market value. This is Spotrak's market value. We've already criticized it a little bit, so I wouldn't live or die by the number they list here. Calais Campbell, wouldn't that be fantastic? He's not coming to Green Bay, but I would love that. Logan Hall is super versatile, and if we could somehow get him on the Packers defensive line, he can span different schemes. He can help provide different personnel in there. Like he's a very good player. I would love to get him. I would love to get John Franklin Myers. I think this price up here, if you're watching the podcast, you can see me circle this. I think this is too much for what the Packers want to do. DJ Reader, I like him. He can still play. He was with Detroit last year. He can still ball. He can be a veteran bargain, honestly. DJ Reader can be that. I think Tim Settle can be a decent run stopper. He could be that. Tonga from New England, he's all right. I'm okay with him. Shelby Harris can still ball. Shelby Harris can still stop the run. So give me Shelby Harris. He's a good veteran. Jerry Tillery, I think, is okay. Anybody else down here? Greg Gaines is a big dude. I like Greg Gaines. $2 million is what his projection is. But yeah, this is what the Packers need to do. They need to sign a veteran bargain, a leader for a cheap price for a short-term deal, and then they need to draft another defensive lineman. So we need to have the young guy we just give a big contract to, essentially, is what we can make him to be. Then we need the veteran, and then we need the rookie. That is the best case scenario for the Packers interior defensive line. Wyatt, veteran, rookie. That's what we want to do. Offensive line. Let's start at tackle because I would love to get a left tackle. I think it's almost guaranteed that Jordan Morgan's our left tackle, given what Brian Gutekunst has said. And given the ego the Brian Gutekunst has showcased over the past 8 years, I think Morgan's going to be our left tackle, which means I think we need a veteran backup tackle. Um, I mentioned Cam Robinson earlier. Again, I don't think we can chase after him given the money, but it'd be great. Um, okay. Spotrac is not really sorting by just tackle. David Edwards, certainly a true guard. So would I love to bring David Edwards home? Absolutely. Can the Packers pay him $20 million? Not after they just did so for Aaron Banks. Anyone who knows offensive line, just compare David Edwards and Aaron Banks. That's insane that they are projected to get paid the same amount of money. It's disgusting. Elijah Vera Tucker, not a tackle, very much a guard. Boy, would that be fantastic to get him. But yeah, let's go down. Let's scroll because this is where we want to be, is down here. I don't mind getting a Joseph Noteboom projected for $1.6 million. I think he gets paid more than that. But Joseph Noteboom would be very good to have as a backup tackle. Max Mitchell, if the Jets for some reason don't pay him, I loved Max Mitchell coming out of college. I think he could be a very good player. I think the Jets are a screw up. I think they kind of ruined him, but I think he showcased some talent even with the Jets. So I do not mind getting Max Mitchell. I think he can be a swing tackle. He could play either one. That'd be great depth. Fantastic depth would be Max Mitchell. Andrews Pete, been there, done that, man. So not saying we've been there with him, but veteran tackle, he's been there, nothing surprising. That would be a very good player to get. Trent Brown, boy, he seems to suck the life out of every room he's ever been in. No shade, but shade. Guard, if we do not get Sean Ryan back, we probably need to draft a guard or figure out something in terms of free agency. Yeah, not a ton out there. So Sean Ryan, I don't mind bringing back John Simpson. If it's between Sean Ryan and John Simpson, I mean, give me John Simpson. Kevin Zeitler, again, bring him home. It's going to be a very short-term deal. He's not young, but he can still ball. He's still a very good player. Trevor Penning. You guys know I love Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning, and then the other one who is a free agent. Where is he? I'll find him in a little bit. From the Bears, Tevin Jenkins. He is obviously with Cleveland last year. Both of them drafted as tackles. Obviously, during the draft process, you guys heard me saying both of them need to play guard. Once both of them went to guard, they both thrived. I think Penning's still playing a decent amount of tackle, but I think he could be a good guard. He could play tackle as well. Tevin Jenkins is one of the best players in the league at the guard position. So either one of them, if we could get Jenkins for a cheap deal, if he's going to be buried down here, that would be fantastic. Let's get Tevin Jenkins. He's just mean. Both of them, Penning and Jenkins. Penning and Jenkins. They're just mean players. They move bodies. They maul people. You can only play like that for so much longer, probably. But I would love for the Packers running game to be to get some injection of life because of the boys up front. Like, let's get people like that here. Otherwise, other veteran players we could get. I don't mind Liam Eichenberg. He's certainly, we know what he is. He's not going to surprise us. He's not fantastic, but he's fine. And the Packers just need fine players right now up front. Greg Van Roten, same type of person. He's fine. Isaac Seumalo, for $9 million, I don't love it. But if you can get him under that, same thing with Dylan Parham. If you can get him for under $10 million, that'd be great. Wyatt Teller, love Wyatt Teller. I love Wyatt Teller for $8 million, not $10 million. Zion Johnson, I think he's probably going to get paid, but if we can get Zion Johnson for $8 million, wouldn't that be great? Joel Bitonio, no shot we get Joel Bitonio, but he is one of the best guards in the league, even still. Okay, let's move off offensive lineman because I'm sure I could talk about offensive line all day, but I'm sure that loses some of you. Let's look at all the edge defenders available because this is a very, very deep free agency class at edge defender, and that is why the value for Rashawn Gary is down. Now, and Rashawn Gary is worse than so many of these, most of these players. you know, I mean, he's getting paid so much money. So Trey Hendrickson, Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa top the list. Obviously, the Packers will not touch them. They have no shot. But Leonard Floyd, I don't hate paying $9 million for Leonard Floyd, especially if we move on from Rashawn Gary. I think that's something we could do. AJ Epinesa, same thing there. Von Miller, maybe Von Miller wants to give it one more go. He said he wants to still play. I don't mind him as being a pass rush specialist. Micah Parsons and Von Miller on third downs. I think that's a winning recipe. I don't mind that. Kyle Van Noy is a good veteran to have in the room, and he proved with Baltimore he can still play. So I do not mind that. Danico Autry, depending on the scheme that we want to run, which I think is still very much up in the air, I think he could contribute for us. Falls off quickly, but Josh Pascal is not the worst. Dwayne Smoot's not that bad. Marcus Davenport is okay. Need to get him healthy. There's people here. Jadeveon Clowney, I think, performed pretty darn well with Dallas. I would imagine he goes back there. But he would be great. We just need bodies. We need people who can stop the run. We need people who can get after the passer. Unfortunately, Rashawn Gary can do neither of those two things, and that is why the Packers need to move on from him. Quarterback. Packers want to get a veteran quarterback. It's going to cost some money, which stinks. We shall see what happens. But could we go after a Jimmy Garoppolo? Could we go after a Mariota? I think for $5 million, I don't hate a Mariota or a Flacco. And a lot of people would probably not be accepting this of open arms. But hey, if Russell Wilson is the backup quarterback to Jordan Love, I think that's a very, very, very big win. I would love for that to happen. Bring him back to Wisconsin. He can mentor Jordan Love a little bit, show him how to read the game. We need people who have been a starter, can empower Jordan Love to become that type of leader, but then also show him how to dissect defenses and watch film, because I don't think Matt LaFleur can do that. And Jordan Love, I know, can't do that. So if we can get somebody with experience behind him, that would be great. Packers have shown that they do not want to get anybody who really gives him a threat as a starter. So that's why Russell Wilson's probably out. Joe Flacco's probably out. I don't think Mariota threatens him, but he might be out. Packers may go for like a Zach Wilson. Packers could go for a Sam Howell. Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater would be great. He can at least mentor him and show him what to do. But boy, we need a legitimate backup quarterback, a legit one, or we need to sign Aaron Rodgers. Let's just suck it up and sign him and let him start one more year. That would be fine as well. Running back. Again, we need a running back too. There's one running back here, which I think is a game-changing running back that we can get for a pretty cheap price. And it's probably not who you're thinking. So let's just look at some of the top running backs available. We got Ken Walker, Super Bowl MVP, Travis Etienne, Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier, all players who performed very well in recent seasons, especially last year. Isaiah Pacheco's there, Michael Carter, Brian Robinson, Rashad White. These two are the ones I'm looking at. If the Packers could get either Rashad White or Kenneth Gainwell for under $3 million, that's an offensive changing player. Legitimately. Packers need a receiving running back, someone who can pass block, run routes, and be a little bit of a spark. Someone who can run an outside zone, because that is not Josh Jacobs' game either. We need a complement to Josh Jacobs, and Marshawn Lloyd would be an unbelievable, perfect complement to Josh Jacobs, but we cannot trust him anymore. We can't go into a season saying, hey, Marshawn Lloyd's our backup running back. Oh, he's hurt? That's crazy. We can't do that anymore. If he stays healthy, that would be a pleasant surprise that we would welcome. But we can no longer assume that that is going to happen. So if we can sign Kenneth Gainwell, if we could sign Rashad White for cheap, both players who are incredibly smart, who have proven success, and who have the skill set to perfectly complement Josh Jacobs, that would be great. That would be great. That would be smart. We do not need, as much as I like him as a player, we do not need Emmanuel Wilson back. We do not need a running back who can only run the football. He is no longer, or he is not good in the passing game. He's not good as a pass protector. We don't need that. We don't need someone who possesses the same skill sets as Josh Jacobs. That's not how you win games. Let's build a roster with a brain. And those are two people I would like to get. Austin Eckler, we don't need to go there. Jeremy McNichols can also provide that same type of spark and have a complementary skill set. So he is someone I am fine looking into. Amir Abdullah is okay. If we can get an Amir Abdullah from like 3 years ago, that would be cool. Who else? Travis Homer has played that role. I don't think we need him though. Ty Chandler, same type of thing. Antonio Gibson, same type of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty set. Let's get Kenneth Gainwell. I think that's the best case scenario. But if we can get Rashad White, Gainwell, or Jeremy McNichols, I think 3 very, very good options that make the offense better and are cheap additions to make the offense better. I love that. I love it. Let's look at tight end. Again, this is something the Packers can address in the draft or even after the draft and free agency with a veteran. We pretty much just need a blocker who can catch the football a little bit. Somebody who would be perfect. I don't think we'll get him, but Austin Hooper would be perfect. He's a great blocker, and he is more than capable of catching the football. That's the type of person I would love to get. He's a veteran. He's smart. A great player to have, but I don't think we're going to get him. Foster Moreau, same type of thing. I don't think we're going to get him, but Foster Moreau would be great. Austin Hooper would be great. Mo Alley Cox would be fantastic. If Mercedes Lewis wants to give it another year, that would be fun. He can't play many snaps. Charlie Kohler and Nick Vannett, 2 very good blockers that the Packers would be smart to sign. So either of those guys would be great as well. Jelani Woods, if you want to kick the tires on somebody with a lot of potential who's massive, can block, and be a red zone threat, I'm not giving up on Jelani Woods. He has had a lot of injuries, but I think he could be good. Now, after naming all of those players that would make the Packers better, I do understand one thing. We will probably sign John Fitzpatrick. We will probably sign Davis. Was that the other guy? Like, these guys who stink and have dirt on Brian Gutekunst or something. Because not only are they not great players, then Gutekunst comes out and says, man, they're such good leaders of our team. Which makes nobody feel good. Nobody. Let's look at wide receiver, and then we'll probably get out of here. And again, when we look at running backs, we look at wide receivers, we look at cornerbacks, we also understand we do need a returner. We need it. And again, that could be Keyshawn Nixon, but I'm not betting on that. Players who would make the Packers better here. A lot of these players up top, but probably out of our price range. I would love to get Wan'Dale Robinson. Would that happen? No. Tyreek Hill would be a menace on the streets of Green Bay, but he would be great. Rashid Shaheed, boy, there's our returner. There's our game-breaking offensive player. I would love to get him. Almost no shot to get him. So let's scroll down. And then we can look at players who the Packers could get. Packers could get Treylon Burks. They love Treylon Burks. I would love to not get Treylon Burks. But if I am betting money on somebody, Packers will be talking with Treylon Burks. I can guarantee it. Tyquan Thornton was interesting with Kansas City. He proved that he can be a deep threat. I don't mind looking at him. I don't mind a Brandon Cooks as a veteran receiver. I still think we need a veteran presence on the team. That would be great. He would be a great veteran presence. Tyler Johnson's a very solid player who you can get for cheap. Tyler Lockett, I think, can still ball a little bit. I don't mind him as a veteran player for cheap. DeAndre Hopkins, shit, man. Would love to get DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think he would go to Green Bay, but would love that. Devin Duvernay, he's an okay wide receiver who's a good returner. I'm fine with that. I think DeAndre Carter returns kicks a little bit. I would like both of them. Yeah, there's players here. We don't need to live up into the big name, high dollar amount guys. It's just not going to happen. We can't do it. We don't have that money to spend. We're not going to be able to do that. But there's some very solid players that we can get that would improve the leadership of our team, that would improve the roster makeup, the complementary offensive makeup, which we just don't really have. We have some okay players. They don't really complement each other. They don't fit within the scheme, and we're not trying to fit them in the scheme. That's the issue right now. We need to figure out why Matthew Golden is here. Why is he here? I'm not saying he shouldn't be here, but we need to answer why is he here. And once we have that answer, we can say, hey, this is the role he plays in the offense. And then once he has a role, then we can add players to fill other roles, right? That's what the Packers need to figure out. The Packers need to, from the top down, need to figure out what this football team is, where this football team wants to go, and how to get there. And right now, there's a lot of closed eyes, full hearts, and always losing. Like we don't need to trust anymore. We don't need to just trust. Packers have good players. We need a leader in the front office, on the coaching staff, and we need a direction to make some freaking moves. So we went through a lot today. If you have any questions, comment. If you have any thoughts, comment. We went through the Packers salary cap, how much space we got, how much space we need to move. We went through how to do that. Again, those numbers, I'm not saying the numbers I gave them, I was just cruising. I was going through what projected value in my head could possibly be. But I'm showing you the players that the Packers will address to get under the salary cap and other players the Packers could address. So we went through that. We went through the departing free agents. We went through the Packers team needs. And then we looked at some players that the Packers could get to fill those team needs, realistic players. We're not saying, hey, why don't we just go and sign Trey Hendrickson? Why don't we just do that? Wouldn't that be great? Sure. That's probably not going to happen ever, right? So we got some realistic signings there. And next week, it'll be after the start of free agency. So we will have a bunch of free agency news. A lot of those top players will already be spoken for. They will be gone. We will see if the Packers are sitting on their hands or if they are being aggressive. But one thing is for sure, we will have Packers moves because the Packers have to do something to get under the salary cap. And it may be as simple as renegotiating a contract, which there were several that we already talked about. That's less exciting, but a trade, a release, something like that, that will be a little bit more exciting. And you can bet that you can follow us and we will talk to you about that. So come back, subscribe, give this a like, and let me know if you like these midday sort of videos, streams, if you're watching live, because we can do more of them if you would like them throughout the entire off season, especially during draft season. We could do a lot of damage here in the middle of the day. So let me know if you like that, and we will be back next week. If